So how are we matching families with children to be adopted?
Yeah, so we've talked a little bit before in previous sessions just about kind of the profiles and reading profiles. But from there, it's really about, there's like a whole packet that we have families fill out, or DCS has them fill out, about how will you meet this child's needs.
Right.
And so it's just a deeper dive into their specific needs, and we're trying to make sure that families are equipped to meet that child. We are not trying to necessarily match a child or match a family with a child. We want to make sure that that family really can meet the child's needs. And so we start there. And there's a couple of meetings that happen. We've talked about those before. The match meeting where the adoption specialist is really meeting with the team and talking about this family and the child. And then there's the family selection meeting where, again, the family now is present and talking with them about the needs of the child and how they can meet those needs. And then there's those visits. And all of that is part of trying to help make sure that this is the right match before we ever place a child in the home. Because that's so critical, is that we don't add another trauma by this child being disappointed or being disrupted from the family. So there's just a lot of conversations going on between the specialist and the family about their questions, their concerns, what this will look like.
I know I've asked you this before, but that matching process, how long can that take?
It depends. Again, I think we've said, some families are matched very quickly with a child. Some it takes a lot longer because they don't feel like they're the right fit, or they can't meet the needs of different children that we show them. Once we're kind of in that process of like having the match meeting and the family selection meeting, it happens fairly quickly. Those happen within just, a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And then the visits are usually over a period of, a month or two. So,
right. Yeah. And I want to ask you a follow-up question then. So once a child is then adopted, brought into the home, it seems so exciting for this family and for the child. Now, what happens if that family starts to get second thoughts? Maybe this wasn't the right fit. Right. How do we help them through that?
Yeah. Well, so just to clarify first, is once we put the child in the home, like the adoption itself doesn't happen for another 6 to 9 months.
Wow.
They have to be in the home at least 6 months before you can petition the court for the adoption. So we talk about this, right? They're technically still kind of in foster care during that period until you petition the court. And that's where we are really focused on how do we prevent disruptions. At that point, it's still considered just a disruption. But even so, those are incredibly traumatic for kids to be under the impression that this is their forever family.
Their hope,
and then there's this rejection, right? And a lot of times the disruptions aren't even necessarily because of the child specifically. It's things that the child brings to the family that really put a spotlight on other areas that were not strong enough in the family. So some marital problems become like big. And so again, we're trying to prevent all of those ahead of time. But you're right. Like that's the question families always ask is, well, what happens if once they're in our home, we're like, oh, this isn't really the right fit.
Yeah.
And this is where we have to truly, truly rely on our faith. And it's believing in the sovereignty of God, that God wouldn't have placed that child in your home if that wasn't the right decision. And that, yes, like there are scary, scary things that may happen or come up. And those are not from God, right? Like, and Satan's going to do all kinds of things, right, to get in the way, to distract you, discourage you. So we come alongside our families. We are doing weekly visits that first month. So we are there every week to check in and see. But you got to be honest and open with us. You got to tell us what's going on so that we can help. And then from there, we're there once a month, every month until you finalize that adoption. And again, we're there to try to support you. We're available, obviously, by phone and email in between that as well. But a lot of it is just families being honest. And I think families get scared. They don't want to tell us that something is kind of a struggle or they're worried about something, but we can't help what we aren't aware of. So really at that point, family coaching that we've talked about in previous sessions, we can put that in place to support other trainings. We have a support group every month as well that's in person. So it's a way to build relationships. It's a way to hear from other families and just know like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. This, we can parent through this. And that's kind of my mantra is we parent through because that's just what happens in real life is we go through difficult phases or behaviors and we just parent through it.
Yes.
And so it's just all the different kinds of supports that we can put in place to really shore up that family and the situation.
Yeah. Well, it's always great talking to you,
Yeah,
Michelle.
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And you can always find more information on our website, understandingadoption.org. And don't miss our upcoming orientation session, November 29th at 6 p.m. That's in a couple days. So it's not too late to RSVP right now. You can even attend virtually, but we strongly encourage you to come in person. It's so great. So many information. Getting tripped over my words here, but a lot of information in
Yes.
those orientation
Yes.
sessions, and you can meet with Michelle in person. So thanks for joining us and have a great rest of your week.